Welcome to another episode of History's Weirdest. Today, we're diving into the dark, dank, and downright dangerous world of medieval prisons. But forget about the prisoners for a moment. We're talking about the unsung heroes and occasional villains, the prison guards. Let's take a peek behind the bars and betrayal that marked their cruel lives. Imagine starting your day not with a double espresso, but with a double check that no prisoners have tunneled out overnight. For medieval prison guards, the morning routine involved a lot of keys, a lot of chains, and a lot of suspicion. Guards at places like Newgate Prison in London faced daily challenges that would make a modern-day security officer weep. These guys weren't just wardens, they were part-time negotiators, part-time enforcers, and full-time targets for bribes. And trust us, everyone from the petty thief to the highborn trader had something to offer. Newgate Prison, infamous for its brutal conditions, was a melting pot of misery. Built in the 12th century and operational for nearly 700 years, this fortress of forlornness was as tough on its guards as it was on its prisoners. The guards had to navigate a labyrinth of cells filled with disease, desperation, and deceit. If you think your job is bad, try doing it while dodging lice, rats, and sewage. Every day started with a roll call, or at least some kind of head count, to ensure all prisoners were accounted for. Guards had to inspect the cells, often finding hidden contraband, everything from makeshift weapons to smuggled food. It was a never-ending battle to maintain order in a place designed to house chaos. The age-old tradition of bribery. Medieval prison guards were experts in this shady art form. They were known to accept anything from coins to cattle in exchange for favors. Need a softer bed? A few coins would do. Want to sneak out for a pint? Better have something more substantial. But beware, the line between a clever guard and a corrupt one was as thin as medieval gruel. Accepting bribes came with its own set of risks. If caught, the punishment was severe. Imagine being locked up in the same prison you once patrolled, rubbing shoulders with those you once guarded. Talk about poetic justice. Prison guards had to be skilled negotiators, constantly balancing the demands of prisoners with the expectations of their superiors. This delicate dance often led to betrayals. Guards would sell information to the highest bidder, sometimes even plotting with prisoners to stage escapes or rebellions. Loyalty was a rare commodity in the grim corridors of medieval prisons. The most notorious example of bribery and betrayal was perhaps Newgate Prison. Guards there were infamous for their willingness to turn a blind eye. For the right price, of course. These transactions were risky, as the consequences of being caught were dire. Guards could face imprisonment themselves or even execution. But for many, the temptation of extra coin was worth the gamble. The guards also played a crucial role in enforcing punishment. Whether it was a public flogging or a stint in the stocks, guards were the medieval equivalent of both judge and jury. Their word was law, but their integrity was often as questionable as the medicine they used to treat the plague. In medieval prisons, punishment wasn't just about confinement, it was about making an example. Public floggings, forced labor, and time in the stocks were all tools of the trade. Guards were responsible for carrying out these sentences, ensuring that the punishment was both seen and felt. It was a grim reminder to the populace of the consequences of stepping out of line. Their methods were often brutal. A simple infraction could lead to a severe beating, while more serious offenses might see a prisoner shackled in irons or subjected to prolonged torture. These punishments were designed not just to discipline, but to instill fear. And it was the guards who wielded this fear like a weapon. Yet, despite their power, guards were often seen as little more than tools of the ruling elite. Their authority came with little respect, and they were frequently viewed with suspicion by the very society they served. It was a thankless job filled with danger and little reward. Life as a medieval prison guard wasn't just about managing bribes and dishing out punishment. It was also about surviving the chaos. Prison riots were a constant threat. Prisoners driven to the edge by horrific conditions often rebelled. Guards had to be on high alert, ready to quell uprisings with brute force. Think of it as a medieval version of whack-a-mole, but with actual stakes. Riots and escapes were the stuff of nightmares for medieval guards. These events could erupt without warning, turning a routine day into a deadly confrontation. Guards had to be prepared to fight, often with little more than a club or a sword. They relied on their wits and their brute strength to restore order. Escapes were another constant threat. If a prisoner managed to break free, the guard responsible would face severe consequences. In some cases, they might even be executed. The pressure was immense, and the stakes were life and death. Guards had to be vigilant, always watching for signs of tunnels, plots, and conspiracies. One infamous incident involved a group of prisoners at Newgate who managed to tunnel their way out, only to be recaptured. The guards involved were not so lucky. They were tried and executed for their negligence. It was a harsh reminder that failure was not an option. The constant stress and danger took a significant psychological toll on medieval prison guards. They lived in a state of perpetual alertness, always watching their backs. The threat of violence was ever present, both from prisoners and from their superiors. Guards had to cope with the harsh conditions of the prisons themselves. They worked long hours in dark, damp environments, often contracting the same diseases that plagued the prisoners. The lack of proper sanitation and medical care made their job even more hazardous. The mental strain was compounded by the moral ambiguities of their role. Guards had to enforce brutal punishments, often against their own better judgment. They had to balance their duty with their conscience, making impossible choices every day. Many guards turned to alcohol to cope with the stress, leading to a culture of heavy drinking and corruption. It was a vicious cycle, one that saw many guards descend into the same despair and hopelessness as the prisoners they watched over. Despite their essential role, society often viewed medieval prison guards with suspicion and disdain. They were seen as enforcers of a corrupt system, tainted by their association with crime and punishment. Their social stigma added another layer of difficulty to their already challenging lives. Guards were frequently ostracized, living on the fringes of their communities. Their job made them unpopular, and their authority was resented. They were seen as necessary evils, tolerated but never truly accepted. This isolation only added to the psychological toll of their work. Their families also suffered. Children of prison guards were often bullied and ostracized, bearing the brunt of their parents' unpopularity. The stigma extended to all aspects of their lives, making it difficult for guards to find any semblance of normalcy outside the prison walls. Despite their hardships, some guards managed to find a sense of purpose in their work. They believed in the importance of their role, maintaining order in a chaotic world. They took pride in their ability to control and manage the unruly masses, finding a sense of identity in their authority. While the life of medieval prison guard was fraught with challenges, there were occasional rewards. Guards who displayed exceptional bravery or loyalty might receive commendations or promotions. These rewards were rare, but they provided a glimmer of hope in an otherwise bleak existence. Promotions often meant better pay and slightly improved living conditions. Some guards even managed to transition to other roles within the justice system, using their experience to advance their careers. These success stories were few and far in between, but they provided a beacon of hope for those toiling in the darkest corners of society. However, these rewards came at a price. The higher up the ladder a guard climbed, the more they became entangled in the politics and corruption of the system. It was a delicate balance, One misstep could lead to a swift and brutal downfall. In the end, medieval prison guards walked a fine line between authority and anarchy. They were the keepers of the keys and the enforcers of order in a tumultuous world. Their lives were a mix of power and peril, filled with moments of betrayal and bouts of brutality. Their role was essential, yet their lives were marked by hardship and danger. They were the unsung heroes of a brutal system, often vilified for doing a job that no one else wanted. Their stories remind us of the complexities of medieval justice and the human cost of maintaining order. So, next time you visit a historical site, spare a thought for the medieval prison guard. They weren't just part of the backdrop, they were living, breathing reminders of a time when life behind bars was a twisted dance of survival and corruption. Thanks for joining us on this dark journey through medieval prisons. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more weird and wonderful tales from history. Until next time, keep it weird.